Hey, Steve Minotti here at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts with my second High Octane Classics walk around since I got out of the hospital after getting encephalitis and being bedridden for about 8 months. But I'm back, I'm alive, and that's a good thing. Now, when you see something like this, you say to yourself, that's got to be a Plymouth Superbird, right? 1970, they made 1,920 of these things. Well, all is not what it appears to be. When these things were new, Plymouth dealers couldn't give them away. Crazy but true, a lot of people brought the birds in to have the noses and the wings removed to demilitarize them, and they sold better. And a lot of people say I shouldn't have done that, took the nose off. But these parts right here from the factory were not made of plastic. This would have been an extruded aluminum panel right here. But a clone like this one here, this is all fiberglass. And the beautiful thing is, these cars are so popular that reproduction panels like Daytona and other companies like make really well-rendered plastic fiberglass replicas of the wings. And moving around to the front of this thing, well, before we go there, another thing about the Superbird was the flush rear window. A Belvedere or a Satellite or a Roadrunner would have a sort of concave rear window. Well, this is also plastic, fiberglass stuff right here that goes right in, and the window is not made of glass. That's made of plastic because the factory glass windows are scarce as hen's teeth. So you got it when you're making a clone, you got to do what you got to do. And other things that were cloned on these things are properly rendered is the A-pillar block-off stainless steel, these bits right here on both sides. That was done for aerodynamic things because the rubber, normal stuff found on a GTX or Roadrunner was turbulence inducing. So these are reproductions right here, and they look the part, and these are another one of those many little things that make a Superbird different from a Roadrunner or a GTX. Speaking of plastic, before we get to the nose cone, these things right here, these are basically fiberglass. These are replicas of the real thing, which also would have been fiberglass back in the day. And these would have been here for a variety of different things to allow hot air or pressurized air to escape from the engine bay. They didn't do a damn thing. On a Charger Daytona, there actually was a hole with a vent in it, so they were functional. The Charger Daytona came out in '69, 503 of those were built. But for 1970, NASCAR said you have to make 6 times as many. That's why there was like 2,300 of these things. And they couldn't give them away. And a lot of that had to do with the nose cone, the beak, which is not present on this one, but if you Google Superbird, you'll see the beak is this big thing right here, and the factory ones were made of steel, basically sheet steel that was welded together in several pieces. This one here would be fiberglass, and speaking of fiberglass, the hood on this thing is also a fiberglass reproduction. The hood pins are cool, those are kosher, and you can get those from year one, no big deal with that. So it's a nice rip-off, or copy, or clone, if you will, or tribute to the Plymouth Superbird. And when you don't have enough to go around, 1,900, you gotta make your own in some cases. This one I give it a solid B for effort. Now this one here, the VIN, let's get to that in a second. It's right here on the dashboard. And this says here RM23N, so that's a 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner hardtop N383 car built in, was it Idaho? It doesn't matter, but anyway, Los Angeles plant, maybe G, I have to look that up. Google user GP, you can set me straight on that, but it's a 70 Roadrunner hardtop for sure, or it was. And it was a 383 car. Well, what's it got now? Let's have a peek. Not a Hemi, but, all right. Here's the hood prop rod. Don't want to get decapitated here. And this is a 440, which is something you could only get in the Roadrunner Superbird because the lesser Roadrunners were not available with the 444 barrel. That would have been a GTX thing. This would have had a 383 in it from the factory. But again, this is a 440 with a Team G Y-end manifold, ready for a small Holly 4-barrel. Light modifications, got some tubing steel headers going on right there. One soft spot that I can see is whoever did this car, they painted the shock absorbers and the tie rod adjustments or the camber and caster adjustments blue like the body. That's kind of a boo-boo. Maybe that's stuff that could be undone. Another thing I like about this one, it has the dual circuit master cylinder right there, which was standard fare on these things. And the power brakes on these things would have taken up space and eaten power. It does have power steering. And of course, here's the power steering pump and all that good stuff right there. A nice presentation. So again, this was born a 383 Roadrunner, not a Superbird. But with that said, no reason you can't undo the flaws of the past. And if you need another, if there's 1,900 wasn't enough, 1,902. Here it is right here, a clone Superbird. Another detail here we do see is the big aluminum radiator, which is kind of a blooper visually, but it keeps that motor nice and cool because one of the problems with the Superbird, that nose cone was so dense, I guess. It wasn't a lot of places for air to get through. On the bottom, there was a screen, but there was a duct and stuff like that. And these were classic for overheating. That's why you want as big a radiator as you can get. An aftermarket aluminum piece like this is a major step in the right direction. I like the wheels. These are correct 15 by 7 inch rally wheels right here with disc brakes up front. And these were new for 1970. These wheels were not available in 69 or 68. Strictly 1970, Superbird and Roadrunner. You could get these wheels right here. There's a couple of other choices. There was a 5-spoke road wheel as well. But these are the right choice for this car. And again, steel fenders, but fiberglass add-on stuff. Let's take a look at that nose cone in the garage. I'm here in the High Octane Classics storeroom for project cars and vehicles that are in process. And getting back to that nose cone, this is it right here. Unlike the factory piece, which would have been steel, basically sheet steel welded together and then finished with lead or Bondo, these are fiberglass. That's a reproduction for sure. And even the headlight doors, which back in 1970 were fiberglass, one of the few things on the body that was indeed plastic, these are fiberglass doors. You can get them as reproduction, but this, there's no magnet's going to stick to that. But one of the great things about the Superbird and the Roadrunner is the Warner Brothers 7 Arts Beep Beep Roadrunner icon right there. And while the Roadrunner was a specific model, the Superbird was a specific model of the Roadrunner, one thing they all had in common was that beep beep horn. And in fact, in the center of the steering wheel, you'll see it right there. It says Warner Brothers 7 Arts. And indeed, Chrysler Corporation and Warner Brothers did a deal to utilize the voice of the Roadrunner inside the car. And this one is correct. It has the 150 mile-an-hour speedometer, which was possible with the RT, the Roadrunner, excuse me, and also the black interior, which was standard fare on all Superbirds. They didn't have any white interiors, no green interiors, they were always black interior. The black vinyl top is standard fare on all Superbirds because the bodywork required to fill in the black here, they had a steel filler panel, the factory ones did, but the surgery scars were covered up by this vinyl, a cheap and easy fix, if you will. So every Superbird must have a black vinyl top. And getting back to that horn, it's more than just a horn. Here it is right here. These are ordinary painted pink, so this one's been resprayed, but we can see here, that's definitely a Roadrunner horn because we can see the bracket right there has that sort of void right there, two thin members, which allows it to resonate, go meep, meep. Now this got electrically dead, so I can't give you the example of that, but there it is right there, the factory horn baked into every Roadrunner, whether it's a Superbird or not. And this one here we know better. It's a clone, but that's okay. So what do you do if you can't find a real one or an original one? You build your own. This is my second High Octane Classics vehicle walk around. More to come.